Okay, all of our panelists are here. Great to see everyone. I know that there will still be some folks filtering in as we kick things off, but I do want to be respectful of time, so I'll go ahead and get started. Thank you again for joining us. My name is Heather. I'm the Midwest Save Our Streams coordinator with the Izaak Walton League of America, and I am pleased to welcome you to this Clean Water webinar, which is our final webinar of the calendar year. So glad that you could make time to be here with us today. And the focus of this webinar will be the Nitrate Watch's 2025 season. A little bit of a roundup, wrap up, discussion of what this year has brought. And we, as you can see, are also joined by some lovely partners. We have representatives from Wisconsin's Green Fire and Iowa Citizens for Community Improvement. So we will hear from them. I'm going to kick things off first with that update, just so that you can get some general info. Try and keep it brief. But before I do that, I will just remind you this is being recorded. So if you have to take off or if you want to revisit things later, that recording should be up on our YouTube channel within the day, if not by today, then tomorrow. And also, we have our chat box, which I hope you're using to say hi and any notes or remarks you have during the talk. We also have our Q&A, which is the question and answer box. So we are hoping to keep this to about an hour, and that will include time for questions. So if you do have questions, make sure to drop them in that Q&A box. It's just a little bit easier for us to keep organized and make sure that we're answering your questions at the end of the talk. So with that out of the way, let's go ahead and get started. So as I mentioned, my name is Heather and I work with the Izaak Walton League of America. And one of the parts of my job is coordinating the Nitrate Watch program. And I have a feeling that a lot of folks on this call are familiar with Nitrate Watch because you're here. Thank you for joining us. But just in case there are some newcomers, I do want to keep it accessible. So let's start by introducing Nitrate Watch. So this program has been around since 2023, and it's all about mobilizing volunteers from all walks of life, all different backgrounds to do water monitoring of nitrate pollution in their drinking water and their surface water. So the goals of the program are to raise awareness about the impacts of nitrate both on the environment but also on human health, to identify places across the country where there is a problem with nitrate pollution and also a groundswelling of people who are interested and engaged in this issue. And importantly, to do more than just document a problem, but to try and connect our volunteers and our partners and communities with solutions and the means to advocate for those solutions so that we can be a part of solving the problem, not just documenting it. Participation, oh, easy for me to say. Participation is simple, as many of you are probably aware. You can head to nitratewatch.org and request a free test kit, and they include everything you see on the screen. So it's 25 nitrate test strips, as well as postcards that explain how to use the test strips and how to report the data. These are free as supplies allow, and we have been so lucky this year that we've had funding that has allowed us to offer these kits for free all year long. So once you receive your test kit in the mail, you will use your test strips to measure nitrate, and that can be again in drinking water or surface water. I should mention these kits are free and they're sent via US Postal Service. If you order your test kit around the holidays, just expect a little bit of a delay. We are unfortunately not equipped like Amazon or whatever. We'll do our best to get it to you as soon as we possibly can. But under normal circumstances, we say like 1 or 2 weeks is usually how long it takes. So you'll use your test strips. It's very simple. It takes just 30 seconds and you're reading a color change on the test strip. And then you will report your results to the Clean Water Hub, where it can be visualized alongside the data of hundreds of other volunteers and contribute to our overall understanding of this problem all over the country. And we do provide resources to kind of deepen and supplement the experience of our volunteers. So that includes educational materials. Webinars such as these are one of those resources, but we also have worksheets like our Make a Plan worksheet to help you kind of strategize how you're going to use your test strip supplies. We have detailed information on our website like FAQs, we have blogs, so lots of ways to learn more. And we also have some resources to help volunteers and partners share their story, share their data, and advocate for solutions. So that includes things like fact sheets. We have an advocacy guide, and we also have some more tailored resources like our letter to the editor guide, which will kind of coach you through how to approach writing a letter to the editor or an op-ed in your local paper. And we also have some template letters to representatives. So all these resources can be found on our website. Many of them are at nitratewatch.org. Some of the more nitty-gritty resources can be found in our resource library, which is iwla.org/resource. So part of my goal today is to give a little bit of a glimpse into the data that's been reported by our volunteers thus far. And this is just showing data for January through November because we don't have all the December data yet. But this is a screenshot from the Clean Water Hub. So this is a map of all the nitrate data that has been reported by volunteers in Nitrate Watch, but also in our Save Our Streams chemical program, which is another citizen science water monitoring program. And the colors of these dots represent the water quality ratings. So green being lower nitrate readings, and then as we go up through yellow, orange, and red, the readings are getting higher. This map, as you may know if you're familiar with the hub, is interactive, so you can zoom in, you can click on sites to see more. You can also filter the results by the type of water source. So if you just want to look at lakes or just want to look at well water, you can also filter by date. So there's a lot of fun stuff here to do with visualizing. If you aren't already familiar, I encourage you to check it out and play around. So let's talk results. This year, we have had volunteers requesting over 2,000 kits, almost 2,200 kits actually. And those kits have been sent to 43 states, and we've received just about 4,000 data points, and this, remember, is only through November. And those data points are reported at 1,512 unique sites or monitoring locations. Now, these stats are just Nitrate Watch. This doesn't even include Save Our Streams chemical readings, which for anyone who does Save Our Streams chemical, you might be aware that when we add those numbers in, these are going to just completely inflate. So that's excellent. We've got lots of data coming in from volunteers in both of those programs. And we're really excited. As you'll see on some upcoming slides, this is massive growth from past years too. So what does the data tell us? Well, this is just one way of visualizing it. But this graph, there's a lot going on, so I'll try and explain. This is showing the average nitrate concentration reported in just surface water, so not drinking water, by volunteers participating in Nitrate Watch. So basically, every day there's data reported. We take an average of the data that's been reported in surface water, and we chart that on this graph. The red area is the 10 milligrams per liter or higher mark. So 10 milligrams per liter or 10 parts per million, that's the drinking water standard for nitrate. There is no surface water standard, but 10 milligrams per liter is a meaningful benchmark because it's definitely an indicator that there is some, for sure, there's some human-made impacts impacting the waterway. And if the waterway is being used as a source of drinking water, it's important that that waterway not include more than 10 parts per million because it's making it that much harder for utilities to provide safe drinking water to their customers. And what becomes obvious from this map is that the numbers start off low as we expect them to be in the winter typically, and they definitely crest and peak in May, remaining quite high through June and into July, and then tapering down. But I will say, in certain areas, in the Midwest in particular, which our partners are from today, we are still seeing nitrate levels that are quite high, even into the winter so far. So this is a national glimpse and a sort of peek at the data. But as we get a little bit more regionally specific, we can definitely learn even more. And we will do our best to have that more regional specificity and just overall more information in our Nitrate Watch annual report, which is going to be coming out early next year. Our goal is February, but wish me luck. So this is my reminder to you. If you have data that you haven't submitted yet, make sure to share that on the Clean Water Hub as soon as possible to give us the best chance of including all of your data in the annual report. So we have the best, biggest data set we can get. If you are an organization who typically sends me data to do a bulk upload, make sure you reach out to me sooner rather than later so that we both have the best chance of getting your data in the hub soon. So I'm talking about this season as if it's all over and we're done monitoring and we're putting this to bed. And some folks might choose to slow their monitoring down and take a break or just monitor a little bit less this winter, and that's totally okay. But I do just want to make it clear that you don't need to stop monitoring just because it's winter, especially if you're monitoring drinking water. You are welcome to keep monitoring as often as you like. If you are monitoring outside and you're in a place that gets snow, just remember to be safe. At all times, your safety is the most important thing. So that means if you're driving to a monitoring location, wait until roads are safe to travel on, or use caution when you're traveling. If you have to approach the stream at a steep spot, try and find a more gentle incline or a place that's not slippery. If you can bring someone with you, that's always best, but definitely let someone at least know where you're going and when. If you need to break the ice, this is okay, but never walk out on the ice to collect your sample. That's just not a safe thing to do. And when in doubt, if it's dubious or you're not quite sure, just come back at a safer time. Also relating to sampling in the winter, we've had some questions about this, and I think it's a great thing to clarify. Um, we've reached out actually to Hawk, the manufacturer of the test strips that we use, to see if cold temperatures affect the readings. And the answer is probably yes. It wasn't really a satisfying answer, but it does actually make sense that cold temperatures would affect the chemical reaction that causes the color change on the test strip in an unpredictable way. So it's not like you can just add another 30 seconds before reading your test strip. So, in order to combat this problem, if you are concerned about very cold temperatures affecting your nitrate sampling, we recommend collecting the water that you're sampling in a clean container. And I always encourage folks to fill it up and empty it out a few times so that it doesn't have any residual water from another stream. But fill up that container and take it into your house or your car. Let it come to room temperature and then take your sample. That'll just give you a little bit of peace of mind that what you're reading is accurate. So back to this year being a big year. I do just want to impress upon you all how much growth we've seen this year. It's been just explosive. So this graph is showing the number of kit requests we've received since starting the program in 2023, in 2024, and now in 2025. And I don't need to tell you, it's been a big year. And I do just want to take the moment again to thank our funders. That includes all these wonderful organizations on the screen here, as well as individual donors, which I think many of you might even be on this call. Without that support, we wouldn't have been able to provide these kits for free. And because of this support, over 2,000 kits were provided at no cost, which is such an important component of this program, keeping that barrier to entry so low. So you might be wondering why it was so big this year. Well, this graphic kind of hints at that. So the light blue portion of this graph is the kits that were sent to Iowans. And as you can see, that proportion just completely ballooned. We've grown in all aspects and in all places, and in places like Wisconsin and Minnesota, we've seen lots of growth specifically in those places. But Iowa just completely exploded this year. And for anyone who is in or near Iowa, you might have some ideas why. There's been some really high profile nitrate specific water quality news in Iowa this year. In central Iowa, there was actually a ban on lawn watering because the water utilities had a hard time keeping up with the amount of nitrate pollution in the drinking water. So that raised a lot of eyebrows, drew a lot of new attention to this issue. And also this summer, there was a research report submitted by, or I should say, released by some independent scientists also in central Iowa, which studied and summarized the sources and the impacts of water pollution. And guess what? Nitrate pollution became a big talking point again. So all of these sort of newsworthy events caught the attention of people. We, the program, were lucky enough to be included in some of that press coverage. And as you can see from the screenshots on this page, so were some of our volunteers, which was amazing to have that kind of exposure for the monitoring itself and the volunteers themselves. To be able to tell their stories was really impactful. So that's one reason why some of the numbers were so high from Iowans this year. But another reason is our great partners. We have partner organizations all across the country, but especially in the Midwest, who are doing a lot of work to either amplify what we're putting out, to send their own clean water messaging out, to promote monitoring, to do their own monitoring and submit data as an organization. So our partners participate in so many different ways, but we are so grateful and acutely aware of how that participation has affected the program as a whole. And that's partly why I've invited two of our fabulous volunteer or partner organizations to be here today, and that is Iowa CCI and Wisconsin's Green Fire. So in just a moment, I'm going to pass the mic over to Iowa CCI if Kim is ready. I lost my camera here, of course. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Kim, I see you there. It's so good to see you. Are you ready to take the mic?
Yes, I am, and I don't even want to tell you what the problem was with my camera when I tried to log on. So
We'll
we'll
talk
just
about it
chalk it up
later.
to user error because it's getting close to the holidays and the brains are already going on vacation, right? So yeah,
I feel you.
I am ready, Heather. Let me see if I can get my PowerPoint up.
Okay. And just a reminder, everyone, keep using the chat to leave your remarks and say hi. And remember, if you do have questions, we will take those at the very end and use the Q&A box to drop those as you have them.
All right, can everybody see my slides? All right, awesome.
Good.
My name is Kim Callahan, and I work for Iowa CCI here in Des Moines. I want to just do a quick shout out to Heather for being such a great partner. So I reciprocate everything that she said. And I see some of our CCI testers on this call. So I want to shout out to some of the folks on the call that test with us. I see you, and I want to thank you for all of your hard work. You are amazing, and all of your data has been incredible this year. So I just want to start really quickly with telling you about CCI. So Iowa CCI is a nonprofit grassroots statewide organization. We are based in Des Moines, Iowa. Was formed in 1975 by four priests in the Waterloo area who believed in the power of community organizing to address some of the social justice issues they were seeing. So they decided to get started and work with people in their communities to address some of these issues. In 2011, as the work grew through the CCI Action Fund, which allows us to challenge establishment politics and put people first. So CCI is both a C3 and a C4 organization. This year we celebrated 50 years of people-powered organizing, and we had a two-day convention in July, and it was really great. What we do is we organize people in their communities to address the issues that are impacting them. Fred Ross has a quote here: organizing is providing people with the opportunity to become aware of their own capabilities and potential. Fred Ross was an amazing organizer in the 40s, 50s, and 60s around farm workers in California. And we draw a lot of inspiration from him. Iowa CCI organizes to build the power of everyday people in rural and urban communities. And when we say everyday people, we mean all of us who are hurt by corporations and the wealthy few. At Iowa CCI, we truly are by the people and for the people. We don't stand by and just let things happen. We work together to make our state a better place for everyday people. This is some of our folks showing up last year at the state capitol to fight the Cancer Gag Act, which was Bayer Monsanto's attempt to try to avoid any litigation around some of the health effects of their products. At CCI, we believe that everyday people can be a powerful force for justice. Those most directly impacted by an issue should be the ones in the driver's seat, making decisions and taking action. Here's some more shots of our folks at the Capitol. Policy making should be the people's business and not done behind closed doors by political and industry insiders, which is a lot of what happens here in Iowa. So we try to get things done on tough issues by being strategic, persistent, and action oriented, and by bringing all the people with us and dealing directly with those decision makers. We are a member-driven organization. As you can see from this diagram, when more people get organized and work together, we can make things happen. We do the work and we fund the work ourselves. With membership support, CCI members in this last year have been organizing to push for clean water, as you've already heard a bit from Heather, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that. We're working on fully funded public schools, trying to stop dangerous CO2 pipelines, and try to stop what could be the Cancer Gag Act coming back again, which is also about water. A lot of the issues here in Iowa are about water. We believe CCI members has members because people have the power to make change that they seek through their time, their talent, and their treasury. And the lived experiences of our members drive bold policy decisions. As Heather mentioned earlier, a lot of our members and our testers have been in touch with media outlets and have told their stories, and it's been really impactful. So how did we get started with Nitrate Watch? Well, it started with a book club, to be honest with you. We read this book, Water, by Jennifer Wilson. She's a local Des Moines author, and everyone loved it. It's a novel, but it's based on the true facts of the story that happened with Bill Stowe, who was the CEO of the Des Moines Waterworks back in 2016 and 2017. And he, with the Des Moines Waterworks, brought a lawsuit against some of the counties upstream on the Raccoon River for the pollution that they were putting in the water that the Des Moines Waterworks was having to try to mitigate. Anybody that followed that lawsuit knows that it did not end well. Industry worked really hard, particularly the Farm Bureau, to stop that lawsuit. And unfortunately, Bill Stowe passed away a couple years later from pancreatic cancer. But this book is kind of about that story. It's a great novel, but it was a really great kind of introduction to some folks who didn't really know about water. So it started with that book club. And then we moved to another book and we read The Swine Republic by Chris Jones. And if you know anything about Chris Jones, he is definitely kind of a social arsonist and he knows how to set people on fire. And so we all got really inspired to do something about what we were seeing with water. So we contacted Heather at the Izaak Walton League and we set up a beta water testing program. And she worked with us to develop a form that our folks could use. And so we have a page on our website that you can go to where you can order these free test kits that are so amazing that Heather talked about. And you can get on the Clean Water Hub and you can connect your testing to our organization and we can help monitor your test results too. So we got that started. People started ordering test kits and began organizing a citizen brigade of water testers here in Iowa. And we found a lot of interested Iowans. We had great participation, over 150 people ordering test kits and adding data to the Clean Water Hub in that first year. So this year we kind of tried to expand the program a bit. It was super simple to do and people were really excited about that. And so we got a little bit more strategic this year and we asked our citizen scientists to test both their tap and an outside body of water so they could monitor both. We had a lot of people doing that, collected a lot of data. We also worked on trying to build some regional teams to develop a community of practice with some folks. So we had some folks in Iowa City working together, some folks in Cedar Falls that are now working together to go to their city council meetings to try to deal with their own water utility and some of the problems they're having. So it's kind of built up into a citizen brigade for social justice. And we wanted to make the program a little bit more robust and connect more people around water quality in their local area. People watching their local waters makes a really big difference. And that's what we decided. People are invested in what's happening around them. And people got really excited about testing. So we had a really engaging and busy water season for water quality in Iowa, as Heather mentioned. CCI testers, you can see some of them here. On the left is our tester Paul, who's in the Ankeny area. He often takes his grandkids out to test with him, so they're learning about water too. They get really excited when they get clean test strips. It's really fun. And then this was from a Zoom, one of our monthly Zooms, and that's John Elson, who I think is on the call, and Stephen, who developed some tools to help bring the water to them to do some testing. So they both have fishing poles with like old pill bottles that they use to bring the water to them. It's great, all the tools that were developed over the season. CCI testers this year requested 206 test kits and recorded 970 nitrate data points from about 220 sites. That data is about a month old, so there could be some more in there. CCI tester data makes up 50% of the recorded data points in the state of Iowa, and 33% of the sites on Nitrate Watch's Clean Water Hub are in Iowa. So there's a copy of a map just of Iowa and the CCI testers, so you can see there's some density around the urban areas, but some of those outlying testing areas are really great too. Over in western Iowa, we've got some really interested people going with testing over there. So as I mentioned, we did some monthly water testing Zooms, and those were a place where our folks came together the last Thursday of every month. We deepened our understanding of this important topic and we kind of shared what we were learning in the field. It was a real pleasure to learn with these folks and to watch them get creative about what they could do. We learned from experts on these calls. Every other month we had a guest expert join us. Heather Wilson has talked to us many times and we really appreciate that. We had a couple of the people from the University of Iowa, Dr. Marty Sinclair, who took over Chris Jones's work in the hydrology department. And then Matt Russell from Iowa Farmers Union talked to us. Michael Schmidt from the Iowa Environmental Council, who's one of the partners in this program too. And then Dr. Gerald Schnorr, who was a lead researcher on that Central Iowa Source Water Report that Heather mentioned. So we did a lot of fun learning on these calls every month and people really looked forward to them. I recorded them and I actually found that a lot of people that could not make the call would go back and watch the recording. And I got several emails throughout the season from folks who went back and watched the recording. So I really appreciated that. Some of the other things we learned, we did a shout out section on these monthly calls. So I shouted out some of our individual testers and the work they were doing, like developing some of those tools that you saw in that picture. One of our testers in Boone was testing two different streams that are right by a CAFO, and she was getting 30s all summer long. Huge high numbers in her streams. It was kind of scary. And she found a rainwater app that she could use where she could get exact amounts of precipitation at exactly where she was testing, which I thought was really great. And like I mentioned, we had a bunch of people develop lots of different tools, walking sticks to get down to the water, tools to bring the water to them. It was always really fun to see how creative people could get with their water sampling. And I really appreciated people sharing that on our calls. Together, we also toured the Des Moines Waterworks treatment plant in July. CCI testers were quoted in multiple statewide news stories, as Heather mentioned. And then the Iowa DNR did a triennial review over the summer, and we had 326 comments submitted for their public comment period from CCI testers. What we learned is that this issue can be addressed by real people doing real science and talking about it. Many of our testers contacted local leaders and legislators about what they were doing and about their own personal stories about Iowa and water. Sadly, a lot of those stories involve them or members of their family having cancer. The issue of water quality was impossible to avoid this year in Iowa, as Heather mentioned, when the Central Iowa Waterworks imposed the first ever lawn watering ban in order to provide safe drinking water to those 600,000 customers, of which I am one. They told us when we went on the tour that they tried to do a voluntary lawn watering ban, and when they put that in, lawn watering usage spiked in spite of their efforts to try to control the water usage, and that's why they had to make it a mandatory ban because people were not complying. And then, as also Heather mentioned, the Polk County CISRA report came out, and that report made very clear what and who is causing Iowa's water quality issues. And that resonated throughout the state and got a lot of people's attention. So public awareness is growing here in Iowa. Many believe that Iowa is reaching an inflection point on water. I hope that this is true. But CCI citizen scientists will continue testing, will continue to collect water and put it on the Clean Water Hub. We'll continue to build our people power and bring more people into the work. And we'll keep showing up to organize on the water quality that we deserve and pay for here in Iowa. I want to thank Heather and Izaak Walton League for inviting me to speak here today. And thank you so much. There's my contact information if anybody wanted to reach out.
Thank you, Kim. Fantastic. You've had such a big year and again, been such a great partner. So excited to see where it continues to go.
Oh, we'll be busting it next year too, Heather.
I'm sure. Got to capitalize on this big moment.
Yep.
All right. So with that, let's turn it over to the Wisconsin's Green Fire team. We've got Carolyn, Chris, and Paul. I'll let you all introduce yourselves a little bit better. And yeah, go ahead and share your screen, Paul. You got it. All right, take it away.
As you
Right.
get those slides up on screen, I'll just open. I'm the communications coordinator for Wisconsin's Green Fire. It's been a real pleasure for us to get going with our Nitrate Watch partnership. So I just want to echo what Kim said about how wonderful it has been to work with Heather, and thank you to our volunteers who are on the call with us. And just as a very brief intro, Chris McNick and Paula Liberty are our two project co-leaders, and highly encourage you to reach out to them directly with any questions or interest in being involved with us in Nitrate Watch.
Carolyn, excuse me. I don't know what to say after Kim's presentation. That was amazing. Not only the energy that you bring to it, but also the accomplishments that you have. And Greenfire, we're going to have to say we're a little bit baby steps compared to you, but we're going to aspire to achieve as much as you've been achieving. If we achieve half of that, we're going to be very successful. So I am going to start out this presentation by telling you a little bit about Greenfire, how we work with our community scientists, and what they have been up to. And then Paul is going to take over by telling you more about the nitrate situation in Wisconsin, some of our other work related to nitrate, and then end with some study designs that can help you if you want your sampling to answer a specific question. Paul's got some good guidelines for you on how and when you might want to do that sampling. Next slide, Paul, please. As always, we start our presentations with the acknowledgement that each of us at Wisconsin's Green Fire is located on the ancestral lands of Indigenous people who cared for and lived on the land from time immemorial. We honor their past and present knowledge, leadership, and stewardship of Wisconsin's natural resources. Next slide, Paul. Wisconsin's Green Fire is a nonprofit, mostly volunteer organization that started out in 2017 as a group of retired conservation professionals. They wanted to continue to contribute to Wisconsin's very strong conservation and environmental protection legacy during a time when it seemed like science was being devalued in state level policymaking in Wisconsin. Since then, we've expanded to welcome anyone who shares our mission of advancing science-informed analysis and policy solutions that address Wisconsin's greatest conservation challenges. And we have a great number of work groups that work on all sorts of natural resource and environmental issues. We currently have about 850 members, and we're continuing to grow. Next slide, Paul, please. Some of our ways of working, not only developing these science-based policy recommendations through publications and presentations, but also working with other like-minded organizations to build coalitions to protect the environment and to do conservation work. We do a lot of media outreach. Carolyn is our leader in that area, and she does a fabulous job. And we also are working on, we have public outreach as well, and encouraging and mentoring the next generation of conservation professionals. So we function through a number of work groups. I'm part of the Environmental Rules and Water Resources Work Group, as is Paul, who is our chair. And one of our work group priorities is sustainable farming. As for myself, I am a retired groundwater scientist and educator with UW Extension. And if you're familiar with Extension in Wisconsin or in your own state, you know that its mission is to make university resources and information and knowledge available to everyone across the state in their own communities. In Wisconsin, we call that the Wisconsin Idea. And I am so happy to be able to continue that work with Green Fire. Next, Paul. Oh, I guess we are on this one, aren't we? Okay, sorry. Green Fire became a Nitrate Watch partner about 6 months ago. And we feel that Nitrate Watch is a perfect way for our non-professional science members to feel that they are part of this team. As community scientists, they are doing an important job, as Kim said, in collecting scientific data. But they're also sharing information with their friends and neighbors. And we hope perhaps eventually become advocates for clean water in Wisconsin and beyond. We very much want to develop a sense of belonging and community in our group, and here are some of the ways that we do that. We have a welcome letter that we send to each member offering that they can contact me or Paul if they have questions. We're working on some short educational emails to share scientific information in an understandable way. We, like Kim, hope to have some Zooms where people hear from experts, but also where they can connect and share their stories about why they're part of Nitrate Watch and tell their stories from the field. We have tried unsuccessfully so far to set up a chat room, but maybe Kim will have some ideas about that. We also have, as Kim does, our own Green Fire Nitrate Watch webpage. As I'm sure you know and we've seen, Heather's website is an excellent resource. But we also wanted to have a place to share Wisconsin-specific resources. That way our community scientists understand what our state agencies are up to and what they're recommending. And as I said, Paul and I are always happy to share our technical expertise and answer any questions our volunteers might have. We are up to 74 volunteers now in the last 6 months, and they have submitted 116 samples from 85 sites. And you can see the distribution of those samples on the map. We have, as it says, we have 18 private well samples, 6 public water supply samples, and 61 surface water samples. And we are a very diverse group. Some members are simply keeping a close eye on a pristine lake or stream that they love, and others are deeply concerned about some of the serious environmental issues like factory farming. In Wisconsin, we're talking now about data centers and water use, and many other issues that relate to nitrate in water. The range of our results is anywhere from 0 to 20 milligrams per liter of nitrate nitrogen. And our two highest values are at 20 milligrams per liter, and they are from two private wells that are located in different parts of the state. And Paul is going to share a little bit of information about the problem of nitrate in private wells in Wisconsin. We are also encouraging our volunteers to look at and record the nitrite value on their test strips. Probably if you've done a lot of sampling, you've seen that you never see anything there, and that makes sense because nitrate is very transitory and unstable. But we have had a few problems in Wisconsin with nitrite in private well water and actually in one public water supply. So that can be very important for health. And if you ever do find any nitrite, we encourage you to report that in the comments on that sample. Now I'm going to turn it over to Paul to introduce himself and share the rest of our presentation. Paul, you're muted.
Thanks, Chris. Uh, I'm Paul LaLiberty. I live in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, and I worked for the federal government and Wisconsin DNR for 40 years in mainly water programs. The area I covered was western Wisconsin, ranging from Superior all the way down to Prairie du Chien and as far east as the Wisconsin River Valley. I retired in 2016 and almost immediately got involved with forming Wisconsin Green Fire in 2017. I was part of the initial board of directors, served a couple of terms, and as Chris mentioned, I'm now the coordinator of water resources and environmental rules work that we do. Uh, and one of our points of emphasis in our work area is sustainable farming. And if you're going to do sustainable farming, you certainly need to focus on nitrogen. And here we see the distribution of Wisconsin's groundwater nitrate problem in private wells. The distribution of these high values uh, correlates with several factors, with agriculture being identified as 90% of the source. The statewide average for private wells is that 10% exceed the drinking water standard. Some counties have it worse than others. 5 counties, there are 20 to 25% of the wells exceed the standard. And in 2 counties, we've got over 25% of the wells exceeding the standard. In Wisconsin, the municipalities that draw their water from surface sources are pretty much confined to along Lake Michigan and Lake Winnebago. And those surface water sources tend to be pretty low in nitrate. So Wisconsin's nitrate problems in drinking water are not surface water sources, they're well water sources. But we do we do sample surface water nitrate levels, and you can see them here. The legend on the lower left, the size of the dot is the concentrations that are found. So you can see all of those places average less than 10. And on the lower right, you see a legend there. The color indicates whether they're increasing or decreasing. And you can see the clear trend in the southern part of the state that the nitrate levels in rivers are increasing. Now, one of the things that we got funding for at the federal level is our Farm Sustainability Rewards Project. And that included some, or proposed anyway, some incremental financial incentives for farmers to farm with less impact. And it would have got financial rewards for not only reducing nitrate loss, but also less phosphorus loss, less soil loss, and carbon capture. And the better that the farm uh, performed in all of those categories, the more incentive payment they would get. This is really a pretty unique approach, and we were pretty optimistic about it. But when the administration changed in Washington, the federal funding for this was pulled. So we had to shut it down when we were about 60% through. So anyway, we looked around for another thing to try to take on, and that brought us to a Nitrate Watch. And as Chris mentioned, we do have on our website some ideas for people trying to design some sampling they want to do on their local resource. And these are what we have for surface water sampling, tracking changes over time, or comparing a couple of different watersheds, or checking the effects of weather on nitrate levels in a stream. And that document also covers some ideas for sampling drinking water sources, such as tracking changes over time, the effect of land use in a couple of different aquifers, and also testing the effectiveness of home nitrate removal devices. And there's some other miscellaneous information on there that we suggest that you can make your data a little easier to interpret, make it a little more meaningful, like taking field notes, certain observations on clarity, different ways you can very simply measure water clarity and put a number on it. And so those are the sort of things that we have in that document on our website. And as Chris mentioned, we do hope to have some outreach sessions. Perhaps there'll be Zoom sessions similar to what Iowa CCI does. We have a lot of information about nitrogen in Wisconsin, sampling suggestions. Again, we have quite a collection of resource professionals that volunteer for our organization, hydrogeologists, biologists, chemists, even attorneys. And we hope to use this as a way not only for our samplers to network with each other, but also for us to provide some information for them on the science and the policy of nitrogen in Wisconsin. And with that, maybe I'll stop and give people a chance to ask questions if that's the right time for that, Heather.
That's perfect. Thank you, Paul and Chris and Carolyn. Um, and as Paul said, there is time for questions. So if you have them, drop them in the Q&A box. That just makes it that much easier for us to see them all. I do see one question that has come in the chat, and I wonder, Kim, if you might have thoughts on this. I can also answer, but the question is, has there been any consideration of the Deltares technique from the Netherlands? And this is referring to there's an app, a smartphone app called Equality. And I know some CCI folks have tested it out this year. Do you want to share anything about that?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So we have a tester in Council Bluffs, Iowa, and he is very, very active with all of the programs that Izaak Walton League offers. His name is Tom, and he's a phenomenal citizen scientist. He actually spent some time this last season comparing the Deltares app with what he could see with his naked eye. And he will talk to you about the photometer readings and all kinds of things that he did. But he really dug into the science of, and just for folks that don't know, like when you use a test strip, you're watching for a color change on the strip, and so it'll get darker as the nitrates are more concentrated. So what the Deltares app does is allows you to use the camera on your phone to kind of capture that reading. And it is advertised as like a very good capture of the reading. What Tom found was that his naked eye captured virtually the same thing as the Deltaris app was capturing with its technology. So his determination was really whatever you're doing in the field without that app is just as good as what you could get with that app. And what we found is it's just a matter of personal preference. Some folks really like using that app. They like having the camera help them determine that reading. And some folks just really like to do it on their own, kind of old school analog. So it's a great application. It's a really cool tool, but I think you can do the science on your own without it. That's what we determined at CCI anyway.
Yeah, and Kim, that actually, I think that hits the nail right on the head. There's actually been a study, and I could find it if uh, I have time, but it was comparing using an app versus using the naked eye to read the nitrate test strips, and they also concluded that the naked eye is often better. The Equality app, we advertise this as a great tool if you want to give it a try. It is free. You just request the little card that has the color blocks on it through the app, which is also free. So there's really, give it a try if you want to. But especially if you have like a visual impairment, it could be a great resource for that because the color change is a little bit subjective. There's a question in the chat about nitrate treatment for the home. So is there literature anywhere about recommended nitrate treatment systems for the home? I can take this real quick, but anyone else feel free to jump in and supplement. Nitrate treatment in the home is not as simple as a Brita filter. Those charcoal filters will not remove nitrate from your drinking water. It's also not as simple as boiling it. In fact, boiling water that has nitrate will increase the concentration because you're essentially evaporating off the water that didn't have nitrate in it. So you need to use a specialized technology, which for most people means reverse osmosis. You can get these, I think you can get them at like Home Depot. I'm sure you could find other sources, but they can go under your sink. They can treat your whole home or just one faucet. But reverse osmosis, and then the other method is ion exchange, which is typically, I don't think, used in home applications, but by some water utilities. So those are the ways that homeowners with high nitrate remove the nitrate from their water. If you are on a public water utility, your water will have less than 10 milligrams per liter, or else that there has been a violation of the law. That being said, as folks on this call might already be aware, 10 milligrams per liter is the drinking water standard. It's not necessarily protective of human health, unfortunately. We are learning through increasing growing bodies of research that even below 5 parts per million might be considered hazardous for certain diseases, especially with chronic long-term exposure. So that means that more and more people, especially folks in places like Iowa who've had this in the news and in their faces this year, are investing in those home treatment uh, technologies. Great question. Um,
Heather, could I just add something to that? In
please
the
do.
last week or so, there is a new web-based application. The name of it is eluding me. It starts with B something. Maybe somebody else knows because we've been talking about this over the last week. I'm bad at multitasking, or I would look it up. But
Is it Be Well Informed?
yes, thank
Okay,
you. Thank
I'll
you.
grab the link.
Be well informed. Thank you, Carolyn. See, we need Carolyn. We just can't do these things on our own. Anyway, so that thing, you put in water test results and it will advise you about different steps that you could take, including water treatment. It's a coalition of states. I know Wisconsin is part of it. I know New Hampshire is part of it. I'm not sure all the states that are part of it, but I don't think there's a particularly a problem in using some other states' application if you're talking about water treatment. That should be pretty similar across the board. I guess I'm in the very initial stages of looking at this, and I think it's a wonderful resource. However, I think it's important to remember that water treatment isn't always the correct solution. There are some wells that are so poorly constructed or old that a new well is the better solution for you. And there are other cases, not for nitrate, but for other contaminants where treatment might not be necessary. If you have copper in your water, for example, just running the water for a period of time before you drink it first thing in the morning will help with that problem. So definitely there is a need for water treatment devices for nitrate for all these people who are struggling with this problem. But just be aware that there may be another solution that might be better for you.
Thanks, Chris.
Do you mind if I add something too, Heather?
Not at all. Go for it.
What I'm noticing here in Iowa is this is now an opportunity for another business and revenue stream for folks. So if you're looking at treatment options for your home, I would just say do your research really well. We did have somebody come to our home and quoted us like a whole new water system, and it was like $7,000. That was like a, water treatment, reverse osmosis, everything. You can, like Heather mentioned, get machine, products at like Home Depot or your local hardware store that you can install yourself under your sink for like $300 to $500. So if you are looking to have to treat your already treated water, be very careful about what you do and what you buy because there are people out there now that are capitalizing on an opportunity to make money on this. And there's really no gentle way to say that. So just beware and go into it as a cautionary tale and make sure you make good decisions. Also, here in Iowa, there is a grants to counties program where you can have your well tested for free by the state agency. However, there is no funding for a solution if you find out that there's a problem with your well. So I just wanted to offer that. There is that opportunity for folks. One of the things that we talked about here at CCI is maybe expanding that program to include some remediation money for folks so that if they do use that program to test and they get a bad result, there's maybe some funds available for them to address it with a solution. So I just wanted to add that too on the additional treatment you might have to address for water.
Thanks, Kim. That's great additional insight. And I appreciate you bringing up the private well testing. I know there's a lot of folks from Iowa on this call, so I dropped the link to that in the chat. Um, Nitrate Watch is a great supplement to some of these resources that are being offered, but I definitely encourage anyone on a well to take advantage of this private well testing if it's available where you are. It'll give you more information about different pollutants than just nitrate, and it will also be lab tested, so you'll have a little bit more, precision and accuracy. I also did find that paper that I was referencing. I found it and linked to it in the chat. So if you're interested in the comparison between the eyeball test versus the app-assisted test, you can find that there. And speaking of other contaminants, we do have a question. I wonder, Paul, if you might be equipped to answer this, but we can all take a stab at it. What do we know about how nitrate concentrations co-vary with other pollutants? So like, do they have things that you might, if you have nitrate in your water, are there other things that we might be finding as well, or how do they play with others?
Well, Chris is more the expert on groundwater. I'm more of a surface water guy, so I might pass that over to Chris.
Actually, we do have some pretty good research in Wisconsin, where when we look at wells in agricultural areas that have high nitrate, they often have traces of pesticides in them as well. But interestingly enough, in some subdivisions where there are very dense concentrations of septic systems, we find wells that not only have nitrate, but also have pharmaceuticals or caffeine or a whole variety of household products as well, because septic systems don't take out everything. So yes, there is definitely a relationship. And if one were to find that they had high nitrate and agricultural pesticides, it would be logical to think that the problem was not coming from your septic system.
I also believe I've heard that nitrate and arsenic often travel together, so that could be another one if you're testing your drinking water, and you're able to use a lab test, you could be learn more about that as well. The question asker is actually curious about this answer regarding surface water too, Paul. So if there's anything else that you can add regarding nitrate and its other chemical contaminant buddies in surface water, please feel free.
Okay. Well, there's definitely a storm event related correlation that when it rains and stuff starts running off the land, uh, everything increases. The turbidity increases, the clarity of the water gets worse, uh, soil particles are moving, and the dissolved component is moving with it. Uh, the phosphorus that runs off the fields tends to move stuck onto the soil particles, The nitrogen is very water soluble, and if the losses aren't going into the groundwater, they're going into the surface water. Uh, Most people don't understand that uh, a lot of the nitrogen that's applied to crops is lost, and that in leaky systems where it's very sandy soil and the nitrogen losses are expected to be high, the university recommends put on more because you don't want to impede the crop. So if you expect losses to be high, you put on more. That's what we're dealing with.
Yeah. Well, I think I know we're just about at an hour, but I do have one question that I just want to kind of close out with because I think this has been a really great opportunity for our partners to learn from each other, but also for us to learn from our partners. This has been the first sort of version of this webinar that we've done, and I hope that we can reprise this in the future. But if there are any volunteers or just people out there who belong to an organization, maybe they're thinking about how to get involved in a more like organized, robust way. You both have had differing times of involvement as a Nitrate Watch partner, but I wonder if there's anything that comes to mind as far as like advice about how to get organized or how to kind of just begin the process of participating in Nitrate Watch in a more robust way. I'll let anyone start who feels like it.
This is Kim. I'll go ahead from Iowa CCI. Like I mentioned, we started with a book club. And we started with something that would engage folks because the topic of water quality is really, really hard. And you have to know, as all of the other panelists know, some really hard facts about water and the science of the pollution. So we started by bringing people in on sort of a softer ask. Hey, join us for this book club. And enjoy this book. It's a great book. It's a fun read. And then we kind of just started to build on that. So we brought people in this soft way, and then we started to build. And we always worked with the intention of community. And so those monthly Zooms were part of our program from the beginning. And meeting once a month has really been the attendance has grown over the course of the 2 years we've been doing it, and people really look forward. Some of my water testers here on the call tell you they look forward to that time when they can share with other testers. In fact, I'll just share quickly. We just did our year-end campaign last week here in the office in Des Moines, and two of our testers from Des Moines and Boone were both in the office, and they'd only seen each other on Zoom. So it was really fun to watch them meet the 3D versions of themselves and compare data and pictures and tests, and it was fun to watch them meet in person. So that was for me sort of like a full circle moment. Like, this is why we do the work, because we're connecting people with each other and then we connect them with the issue. And so when you do it that way, I think that is a winning formula. And the more people you have, the more power you have, and people really get get an appetite for that, is what we have found. And they really, really enjoy the work. So just that soft ask of a book club really just kind of kicked off into where we are today. And it's been a really incredible journey. We've learned some hard stuff, and we've learned from each other, and we've grown as a community, and we've brought a lot of people with us, and it's been a lot of fun.
That is really fun. I will just say for anyone listening, CCI and Wisconsin's Green Fire are both statewide organizations, but there is no reason that a smaller organization can't be a Nitrate Watch partner or participate in Nitrate Watch in a real robust way. We have examples of that as well. So don't feel like, no number is too small. Paul, Chris, Caroline, any advice that you want to offer? No, no pressure.
I think I can improve on that.
Kim's got experience under her belt. She's been involved for a couple of years. Well, if there is anyone out there who's thinking their gears are turning and you're curious about getting more involved, I encourage you to reach out to me. I'll put my email in the chat here. It's just hwilson@iwla.org. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have as an individual or as an organization. And like I said, reminder to get your data in. Try and do it before the end of the year, but at the very latest, like beginning of January, so that I can get all your readings incorporated into the annual report. Oh, and who was the author of Water? It was something
It's
Wilson.
Jennifer Wilson.
No relation. Cousin Jennifer. All
I also
right.
want to tell people
Well,
if you haven't yet, go to the Green Fire website because it's pretty impressive. I was snooping around a bit and I look forward to doing some more. It's great.
yes, I also want to do some more snooping, especially about your resources for sampling design. But Greenfire has a great web page for Nitrate Watch. Okay, well, we are just
Thank
about
you.
at an hour. Oh, go ahead, Carolyn.
Oh, well, I'll just echo what I just wrote in the chat that once again, Heather, you have been an amazing resource to us in making that behind the scenes process with the Clean Water Hub and
Mhm.
making a lot of that content that we're able to then share in
Sure.
those resources on our webpage and combining that with the sampling design ideas. It's exciting. I hope we get to the size and impact that Kim, you and Iowa CCI have had. Really exciting.
Well, Heather will definitely help you get there. I ditto everything that Carolyn just said. She's an incredible partner and an incredible advocate, and we couldn't do it without her.
Thanks, guys. And it goes both ways because without partners and that regional, local support, it's not the same program. So very grateful for all of you. Thank you for being here and for sharing your expertise and your recaps. And to everyone attending, thank you for joining us as well. And I hope you all have a great rest of your day and rest of your year. Take care.
Thank you, Heather.